G'day and welcome to this episode 81 of the My Lean Business Coach podcast. Today we're talking about expectations. An old work friend of mine had a saying that he used all the time. The saying was, expectations are the cause of all disappointments. We had many interesting discussions back then, mostly in disagreement, I must say. At the time, I saw the meaning of this statement as, don't have any expectations and you won't be disappointed. And I felt it was a pretty sad way to go through life and to go through work. Over the years since then, I've reframed it and given it a new meaning that I can better relate to. This interpretation has been developing for over a decade now and has been influenced mostly by experiences and by a couple of key influences in the area that I've either worked with on projects or experienced their thoughts, either listening to them or reading their work. Undefined expectations are the source of much disappointment. This is how I frame it. Undefined expectations are the source of much disappointment. Let me explain it from a personal experience. Now, there are two regular restaurants that my wife and I frequent. We know many of the staff and are always greeted with consistently good service and food. Built up over time, we have quite clear expectations of the food and service we'll receive and are rarely disappointed. Sometimes we choose to go somewhere different for a meal. Sometimes somewhere more expensive with a high reputation, and sometimes somewhere less expensive with a lower reputation. What's interesting is that we rarely are very impressed with the more expensive and highly rated restaurants, and conversely are sometimes very impressed with the less expensive and lower rated places. Why is this? Undoubtedly the service and food are of a higher quality in the more highly rated and expensive restaurants, but so are our expectations. This is why we feel disappointed. Simply, the service and food didn't meet our higher expectations. Does this mean we should all just lower our expectations and be more satisfied? No, absolutely not. That's what my friend many years ago thought. What we need to do is clearly define our expectations, both as a customer and as a supplier. And the defining of expectations goes both ways. As a customer, it is important to be clear of your expectations from your suppliers. As many customers have different expectations, a supplier will measure their performance against their own expectations, so may believe they are doing a good job when in fact their customers are unhappy. Both parties have a role to play in this situation. Firstly, the supplier should be asking the customer for feedback on their performance to understand the customer's expectations. And secondly, the customer should have defined their expectations, so a supplier knew what level of service was required. Now, some may say here that the supplier should just provide the best product or service they can. However, this attitude forgets one of the principles of a lean business, and that is to reduce waste from its processes. One of the common wastes in any business type is the waste of overprocessing, which will add cost to the business and will usually be passed on to the customer. If a supplier is providing to a higher level and exceeding the level of expectation of the customer, but also increasing the price, the result may actually be a lower experience in the eyes of the customer. Whether you're a customer, a supplier, an employer, or an employee, define and share your expectations. Not only will it mean a better chance of being satisfied, but it will save you time, money, and headaches. That's all for today. Thanks for listening, and we will see you on the lean side.